even if one. The ACT has distractors on every problem. So my I knew them student was not only saying, oh yeah, I know I did this in Algebra 2, or I know I did this in Geometry, I just can't remember how to do it. More likely, he's missing, or she's missing these too. Because he knew these, and he got this, right? He got A. He knew he got this one. Small mistakes are huge score killers. And I think we all know this. The ACT is set, I always make the joke, there's problems you don't know, because it separates Algebra 1A freshmen from AP Calculus seniors. Theoretically, we should all miss a problem, right? So there's going to be stuff you don't know. But if you miss, so 60 questions, you only get a couple questions in each of those rows of scores. And if you miss it, the ACT says you don't know. And of course, let's go back. If we went back, we don't have to go back, but if we went back, if you miss it,
sure, you made it
that's
hard
right.
for me.
I made it hard for you?
Yeah.
If we go back, those score killers are just there, and it drags the score down, and we're seeing scores like that. So if you go for it. So my silent answer when I was sitting at home thinking about that student, because every time I was doing this, I was using the I knew them student. How do I work with that I knew them student? You know, I knew them but couldn't remember. My silent answer became, he or she saw it, but they never learned it. They never mastered it. And really, that's on me. So the high return is to make sure the students got those first couple bands. All right, let's make sure they don't screw up the absolute values, the evaluation, the order of operation. I'm not talking anything deep down and high yet. I'm talking, let's make sure they are machines at these and they remember them and they've mastered them. Really have the foundation. Don't screw up the easy. That became my mantra in my head. I probably wouldn't use it at school because it has the word screw in it. But don't screw up the easy, right? We're going to get these problems. 3 things that I have, if I'm going to make this happen. I had to have student accountability. Students have to want to master, or at least have a system that wants to make them want to master, right? Recursive materials. And they have to show me they've mastered it. They have to show me lots of times. All or nothing mentality. Chris Rugg was on this, and I wasn't, I mean, this took a lot of, this was a leap of faith for me. I was not a partial, I was a partial credit guy. I was like, yeah, I want to give points, I want to encourage students, blah, 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 I want to see steps. But I went with an all or nothing mentality. I took, because he was adamant about it. It was absolutely, you had to be no partial credit. So I went all or nothing mentality. And I sat down using the standards, and I deconstructed ACT standards, and I made context quizzes. And my quizzes weren't pretty, but they looked like this. And hopefully they bring you full of copies, but keep going. So, you know, and again, these aren't hard, and I used, go back please. These aren't hard, but I actually used the codes. They had codes they showed us, and I found the bandwidth, and they have a numbering system, and you know, I did these problems, and you know, I would make this worth 50 points, right or wrong, multiple choice. And that's the other thing about the first high school. Everything is multiple choice. So they're preparing for the ACT, and that is what it is. I gotta take a second and tell you what I believe, because this affected what I did immensely. All right. My grade is all about academic mastery now. It's not behavior. You know, you were good in class, you were just good. I don't care if you're just good in class. It's not responsibility, and this is where a lot of math teachers disagree. Late homework, full credit. All right, I have this coupled to an interesting policy we'll cover later, but late homework, whatever, I'll take it. And finally, the big one is not time. And what I mean by not time is student A learns it Monday, Masters Tuesday, quizzes Wednesday. Student B learns it Monday, struggles Tuesday, struggles Wednesday, gets it kind of Thursday, Masters Friday, quiz, and he's fine. Problem is, when was quiz? Wednesday. And A and B both Masters. How do I prove that? So that is how I see what I have to do. So I had to remove that constraint of time. When I quiz, right? But I have to quiz, and it has to be during class. So you know what that means. Oh, before I get there, I had a huge hard time because on that quiz, you couldn't just circle the answer. That's the other thing I didn't allow them to do. I made them show work, and if there was no work and they even circled the right answer, I assumed it was a guess and I marked it wrong. So, but I had a hard time. Students would work out problems. They were long problems. They'd be negative x equals 1. And they'd circle 1. And I'd go, oh, so much work. And then just, oh, wrong. I really was struggling. I really was. I just was. And since there were no, since time is removed, I am requizzing. I'm allowing requizzes, right? And at the end, if you're interested, I'll talk about this, but politically, I would have had to requiz, even if I didn't believe this, because of the problems on the grades that would have occurred otherwise. If I would have just said these quizzes, your grades stand, I'd probably been run out of Jude on a rail. You can't fail 3/4 of the class. All right, we'll come to that. But if you want to know about that, we can ask about it later. So requizzes were awful. Oh my gosh, all the time. And that was on their time. And I'm teaching 7 hours that year in 2010 out of 8. So my prep was kids coming in, you know, wanting to work. Why did I miss this one? And I'm, you know, and they have to get the points. And you know, if we take a look here, some of that was due to our grading scale at Judah. It's district set. 70% is the cutoff. You know, so think about it. A 50-point quiz. You missed one. You got 40 out of 50 is 80%. All my A and B students come crashing in because 80% is a C. Or if you're at the bottom of the scale and you miss 2, you get 30 points out of 50. That's an F. So all my low-end students come crashing in because they don't want to flunk. I was inundated with students taking requizzes. And the quizzes were supposed to be summative. These were supposed to be things they knew, right? You just kind of look at those questions. There's nothing there that was, you know, extraordinary for Algebra 1 or Geometry or Algebra 2 students because I was using the same quiz. But yet, I learned that they didn't know this, and I had to go back, and I was teaching things, you know, it became formative. I was changing what I was doing to make sure we learned those things. And that was more an indication that I had to change what I was doing in the classroom, too. I thought requizzing missed problems was neat. I've read a lot of blogs about this. I was only requizzing the missed problems. You know, have them work a few and then flip over the quiz and handwrite a question, and not multiple choice, but then have them work it out, and if they got it, give them their 10 points. But what I saw when I said I wanted to measure the assessments and I wanted to see progress, what I saw was the question they would miss this time, they may or may not get the next time at the same percentage as the question they got right, they might miss at the same percentage. And it became my reality, that's what happens if everything's not mastered. And there just wasn't the improvement on the subsequent quizzes. It was a hodgepodge. And think about what that means for me personally. I mean, not to make you feel sorry for me, but oh my gosh, the requiz just didn't end, right? It was a tidal wave, the tsunami, and then it came again, and it was unending. It's important how you requiz as you quiz. That's the one thing I take away. How you requiz is just as important as how you quiz. And my big thing here, and I'm adamant about this, you must avoid pumping up, is what I call it. Pump a few questions in their head, they remember a procedure just long enough to get in your room, and dump it out in the paper for you to get their points. And our job is to separate pumping up from mastery. The entire quiz had to be retaken. I need mastery because then the thing is they pump enough to one, then they miss the other. And guess what? The 40 or 50 stayed. All my 4 or 5 kids stayed 4 or 5. All my 3 or 5 kids stayed 3 or 5. They got the one right or 2 right they missed. But they went on and missed the other ones. Because the mastery wasn't there. Problem. I thought I had a tsunami of problems, you know, coming at me before. If I'm remaking all 5 questions, I can't do this. It takes too much time. So I came up with a solution. I used a worksheet generator, and I traded context for the ability to requiz. I didn't like it, but I couldn't. I am trapped in the situation that I am the math teacher. You have to make trick allowance here. And what's more important, context or requiz? And I stick to my guns that I am not going to grade time. And if you take a look, oh, and before I take a look at the quiz, man, I am now a believer. Partial credit is the devil. Partial credit is the devil. And I'll tell you a story here. I learned it with a wonderful girl who pretty much did her math, you know what I mean? Right on the low B side of students, you know. And I had a polynomial division question on a quiz. She came in and said, I don't know how to do this anymore. And it was x plus 2 is divided into 4x cubed plus 3x squared, blah, blah, blah. And she set it up. I said, okay, what do you do next? And she says, well, I know it's 4x squared. I said, how do you know that? Well, I just know you take the first term, bring it up, and knock a power up. And I was like, oh, okay. I know why. Because the year before, the way I graded is if you could set it up out of 5 points, that was a point. If you get the first term out of 5 points, that was a point. And she was only interested in the grade. And 2 out of 5 points, and there's only one of those on a test, gets her that D-, guys. And so that's what she did. She wasn't interested in knowing polynomial division, didn't care if it got mastered. That's why partial credit can be the devil. Here's a quiz. This was just ran when I was setting it up. Algebra 1B, if you're curious, this is CUDA software. Yeah, I love it because I push the space bar and all the questions change and I pre-print. This was run on 4/12. I know it's a little small, I apologize. 4/12/12, that means it was April 12th of this year. This is Algebra 1B, all right? This is Algebra 1B. And that is the second semester of algebra over a year. These are sophomores who have had struggles in algebra. And I do have a little bit of grouping. I do. A couple of exemplifies, some basic equations, some exponents, factors, graph a line. But then you'll see I jump to just one question, one attempt. And it's all right or wrong. And my best example of that, the one they hate, is this one. Name what's 9/5 as a set? It has to be real and rational. Just real is wrong. Just rational is wrong. Real rational integer, that's the common error, right? Because 9 and 5 are both integers. Wrong. And what I'm real happy with when I look at this, these are Algebra 1B students, the month left to go, going to go to geometry. They've mastered these skills. They can succeed in geometry. And again, remember my scale, 70% is the cutoff. Right or wrong. This would be a very long quiz for me actually, but it kind of showed all the skills. We did one quiz this week instead of 2 or 3 like we usually do. So. Oh yeah, side note says on the side. I haven't given up on context. I have 31 pages of context questions, and you're more than welcome to them, and I'll show you the links so you can get them. They're out in the cloud. I haven't given up on that idea. I think that's real important. But it's also real important that I play baseball with my 2 sons and daughter. I'm using Access in Microsoft, trying to use a database so I can do the same thing like CUDA can, so I can come in and would randomly pull questions based on the standards. So I'd reach out and I'd program the standards in and it would do it. I'm having some programming issues, but that's the idea. So I'm going to try to get there. But for now, I don't. And I embrace recursive quizzes and no partial credit.